following is an exclusive presentation of Jessup Broadcasting, the sports leader in Southeast Georgia.
World famous. The world famous Butch and Bob Show.
And yes, we are the world famous Butch and Bob Show. Butch Hubbard here with you along with Bob Morgan on this Wednesday morning, the 10th day of February. And Bob, I don't know. I really don't know when we're going to see the sun again. I'm looking at the weather forecast all the way through Monday, and it's still calling for cloudy skies.
Yeah, doesn't look good.
I mean, all the way through Monday, President's Day. And cloudy, 30, 40, 50% chance of showers, sometimes 60, but just overcast. Let's see if I can find it here. I'm looking all the way through Sunday. And let's see here, all the way through Monday, 50% chance of showers on Monday, Washington's birthday or President's Day. And then Tuesday, still cloudy. Still cloudy on Tuesday, Bob. Look, I'm looking at the pictures up here, and it just shows cloudy, overcast skies every single day all the way through next Tuesday.
It's supposed to be cold over the weekend, too, I understand.
Let's see here over the weekend.
Curious how the Daytona 500 events are going to go then.
Yeah, it will be. I'm not sure if they're going to get rain down there or not. We have a 100% chance of showers on Saturday with a high of 62, 51 Saturday night, 61 Sunday, and 44 Sunday night. So moderate temperatures. All right, Big Dog Country Radio, WIFO, 105.5 FM. Let me get you plugged in here, Bob, because we got Bill Werkheiser on.
He's on?
Yeah, he's on. Bill Werkheiser is on. He is coming through us through Zoom. Zoom. Is that right, Bill?
That is correct. I'm in my office at the Capitol.
There you are. I see your smiling face right here on the screen. There you are, Bill Werkheiser, State Representative Bill Werkheiser. Wednesdays with Werkheiser, and Bob, take it away.
Okay, we got Bill Werkheiser, Wednesdays Werkheiser. Bill, appreciate you being here on the show. Again, we had on the news, a lot of bills are being presented. One was presented and passed in the House yesterday. We had on the news preventing lawsuits against businesses with a worker or customer that catches the coronavirus. Again, passed by a vote of 99-68 along party lines, with majority Republicans saying struggling businesses need protection and Democrats objecting because employees would be unable to seek legal relief when unsafe conditions resulted in illness. So just want to get your thoughts on the bill. I'm sure you voted for it. Again, it protects businesses and, again, without fear of being sued. So tell us the purpose of the bill. And it's been in existence. They're just extending it. Is that correct?
That's correct. And that's one of the things that I had on my list, which I cannot find, that I was going to talk to you about. So it's interesting. So everybody knows now, every time you walk into a business or a restaurant, you see these signs on the door of the business that says that we're protected from business liability. And that's important because you don't want, for example, if I walk into the, say, local Ace Hardware owned by the Harrises, and I, buy a sheetrock and some a hammer today, and then tomorrow I get sick, and I might say, well, I think the cashier sneezed, and that's why I got COVID. So that prevents frivolous lawsuits or from employees and even filing suits from the employers. And so this piece of legislation, we did it last year, but we had a sunset date because we had hoped that we'd be over it in a year. And so and it's interesting, it was kind of bipartisan last year, and this year it became, like a lot of things, very partisan. It's the atmosphere is very different. Even on local legislations, we had a fight yesterday on the floor about between parties about a local bill. And usually on local bills, like, for example, the city of Jessup a year ago had me file legislation to stagger the terms. Well, the way that works is we do local legislation as a group, and they figure, well, it's my district. I should be able to do, file local legislation if that's what my district wants. Okay.
Position.
Okay. Bill's got somebody in his office.
Computer audio on. I'm seeing if you guys are hearing us. If you're not, send us a chat message.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Bill's talking to someone in his office right now. We got him on Zoom from the Capitol building in Atlanta.
Everyone, yes.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, Bill.
Show y'all how committed I am to y'all. I am in the middle of another Zoom committee meeting. They need my vote.
Multitasking this morning, Representative Werkheiser.
I am multi-Zoom tasking. we're taking 2 votes, and they told us in no uncertain terms to be there. And I said, well, I got another engagement, so I've got my admin zooming in the next room, and she's bringing me the phone when it's time to vote.
Okay. You're a good man, Bill, and everybody knows the importance of the world-famous Butch and Bob Show, okay?
Exactly. Don't want y'all to kick me off next Wednesday. So anyway, on local legislation, it's like, whatever the local rep wants, and that's why we vote on the entire local calendar every day, and there's usually 5 to 10 bills on it. Well, yesterday, one involved an elections board, and they thought the local rep was trying to stack the deck, and he wasn't. And so there was a little skirmish about pulling the bill off separately and voting for it. And so anyway, it's just times we're in that everything has become a partisan battle. And so that was the one, we had 2 yesterday. Wish I could find my list. We've got all kind of interesting bills. So what's interesting is it seems like we haven't done much. We've been working just as hard, but from the public's view, you haven't seen much bills. But as Bob said, that now all the committees have been meeting for 2 weeks. Now the bills are getting out and getting through rules and getting to the floor. So we voted on 5 or 7 measures yesterday. We'll do the same today. By this time next week, we'll have 10 to 20 bills, and then in a couple weeks after that, we'll have 60 bills on the floor. Interesting bill we had yesterday that Representative Meeks and I are both, it's the only committee that we're both on jointly, and it's the Energy, Utility, and Telecommunications. It's called Kelsey's Law. And there was a young lady in Kansas City who went to Target on a Friday afternoon and never came home. And her parents went to the police and said, hey, if y'all just ping her phone, that would help us. Well, that was on a Friday afternoon. Through enough court orders and injunctions and jumping through hoops, they finally got, I think it was Verizon or AT&T, it doesn't matter. But they were merely following the law because of privacy laws. Well, Monday, they pinged her phone, and within 45 minutes, they found her body.
Oh, wow.
Had that been a kidnapping, as you know, time is of the essence. And so, that's one of those things that it's a sad situation, but it's going to help. And it's already passed in a couple of states, and it's already helped some people. And they gave specific examples of that. But that's one of those deals where a company is following the letter of the law. They said, no, we're not going to let you ping because of privacy issues. And so, we'll change the law on that so that, and it will not allow law enforcement to look at text, emails, any other thing, in fact, anything on your phone, what apps you downloaded, anything. The only thing it will allow them to do is ping your phone. And so that was a kind of a good bill that Meeks and I had got involved in with yesterday.
Bob?
You were here for the eggs and issues. Of course, broadband was the big topic here for rural Georgia. See where the governor's proposed $20 million this year, $10 million next year. So looks like that's moving forward. It's going to take a while to get installed and built, but it's good to see it. The progress is finally moving forward.
It is, and as I have said several times, I'm a little leery of that because of the amount of money it's going to take, and I'm not so sure that's where we should be spending your tax dollars. And in fact, what's funny is, speaking of reading articles, I read yesterday where Elon Musk sent up another satellite that's going to cover a pretty big section. I still think that's something that private companies should be doing, and let them spend their money and let us be the recipients. Because I feel like, $20 million is a lot of money, but maybe it's not a lot of money. I don't know how far you will go with that. And then if you're still doing hardwired infrastructure, that really doesn't hold a light to, satellites and the coverage it does for the amount of money. Now, is sending up a rocket expensive? Absolutely. I don't know what it is, but if it's 10 to 20 million and you can blanket half the country, And so, if you can send up 10 satellites. So anyway, that's my thoughts on it. I really wish we would let private industry take.
I know that Governor Kemp on Georgia News Network report this morning had made an announcement that a couple of REMCs in the middle Georgia area have gotten together and through the state have promised to offer broadband to several 100,000 people in the middle Georgia area.
Yeah, and so there's an example. The EMCs, which we loosened some regulations last year, and again, that bill came out of the committee that Representative Meeks and I are on. So yeah, let's get government out of the way so that if business wants to take that in that exposure or that risk, let business do it. But our role should be to get government out of the way. I don't know necessarily of putting millions and millions of dollars into it.
Bob?
Again, everybody interested in all the proposed legislation concerning the voting laws, things like that, absentee ballots, drop boxes. Where do you see all that headed? I know it's headed for a big debate. I talked to Blake Tiller yesterday, and story from the state is a lot of this will probably wind up in courts before it's all said and done. So your thoughts on what all's going to take place up there in the legislature and how much can they get done and how much can they get passed?
Yeah, so what's interesting is two things. We're gonna do two really big things this year, and both of them we know are going to end up in court. And those are election laws and redistricting. And we had a meeting yesterday, the House Republican caucus, about redistricting. And so back to the election laws. So it's funny how the House and the Senate are both doing, they're going about it in two totally different ways, but we'll end up with the exact same effect. And that is, so the Senate has in the House and the Senate, they've both dropped, I don't know, half a dozen bills, maybe close to a dozen bills. And so the Senate is hearing those bills one at a time, and then they'll eventually have probably one big election package, I would think, but they may vote on them one at a time and send them to us. The House is being, and I'm not saying this as one is better than the other, but just knowing the chairman, really smart lawyer from Augusta, very methodical. He's going about it in a lot slower pace. And they have passed out one piece of legislation, and it was very minor, very weak. But I love his strategy. He says, what if we get shut down like last year during COVID? He said, my goal is not to get the final product over to Senate, but to get one minor piece of bipartisan legislation over to the Senate, because they have a crossover rule that a bill has to get over to the Senate by the 28th legislative day or they won't hear it. So we took a request from the ACCG, the Association of County Governments, which is a bipartisan group, and they said it's ridiculous that you can walk into an elections office on Friday afternoon, Friday before an election, and ask for an absentee ballot to be mailed to you. Well, the mail doesn't even run over the weekend for most folks. So that ballot, it's almost false advertising. So they said, let's back that up 10 days. And I think they settled on a lesser day, but let's say somewhere between 5 and 10 days. And so kind of a minor piece of legislation that just says, hey, let's have a cutoff day that you can ask for an absentee. It's a bipartisan measure. It was asked for Democrat and Republican county government association. Let's get that out of the House. Let's pass it over to the Senate. And now we have a vehicle to attach their bills, our bills, in case the wheels come off because of COVID. And so that's kind of where we're at. Bob and I know we'll talk about it every week, but the reality is it's going to be 2-3 weeks from now before we know what these bills look like. But everything under the sun has been filed. So it's because you got to remember up here, you can file a bill for any reason whatsoever.
I know you're on the House side. We talked to Blake Tiller yesterday. He's on the Senate side. He was making his proposal about the budget. How did that go? Did you have a chance to watch that? And did they vote on that?
I didn't. In fact, I'll be on my list today to watch. I didn't even get to watch his Butch and Bob show yesterday. It's the same budget. Remember, we're back to the usual process of the budget starting with the House. And so they basically took the House's budget. They made very few changes to it. So that was more, I hate to say ceremonial on something that big, but basically what he did is present the budget as sent to them by the House with some minor adjustments by the Senate. And so they went through that 600-page document in sections, and they voted it out. I don't even know what the vote count was. It's usually a pretty good majority. There's some in the minority party that will vote against it. And so, no, I haven't seen that. But so now the next step is that will come back to the House because they did make changes to it. And so because it wasn't the exact bill that we sent them, then we have to agree or disagree. Well, we always disagree. And the reason we do that is we will disagree to their changes, not because we don't like them, but so that the Speaker will appoint 3 House members, the Lieutenant Governor will appoint 3 Senate members. They'll go into conference committee. They will compromise on the adjustments between the House and the Senate, and then that bill will go back to both chambers, and both chambers will vote that out.
State Representative Bill Werkheiser, our special guest this morning here on the world-famous Butch and Bob Show. And, Bill, that's probably back to the subject before then, the most text messages that we receive when y'all are on the air with us each Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday with Stephen Meeks and then Tillery and then you Werkheiser has to do with the mail-in ballots, absentee ballots, drop boxes, and stuff like that. People want to make sure that every vote that is counted is a legal vote and by the person who actually his name is on that ballot. And so we just received another one. What is the plan going forward with regards to mail-in ballots? And each one of you 3 have mentioned that's the number one subject that y'all are getting calls and emails and text messages on. People want to make sure that we have a legal election next time.
Yeah, so, and what I'm telling everybody is stay tuned, stay patient. I can almost guarantee you that the one change we will make is photo ID will be required along with absentee ballots. After that, like the drop boxes and some of that other stuff, we don't know yet, but I can promise you we will make changes. It's funny, just 4 years ago when, to this day, Stacey Abrams has not conceded her loss to Governor Kemp. So we had the left saying that it wasn't a fair election. Then 4 years later, it's the other party saying there wasn't a fair election. So in 8 years, if you got both sides saying there wasn't a fair election, sounds like we need to make some changes to our election laws so that, because, our democracy is that's the bedrock of our democracy is the fact that we have free and fair elections. So we're going to work on that, and so that they're fair, transparent, accessible. And so we should all want the same thing regardless of what party you're on.
I've been voting since 1972, and usually on absentee ballots, that were people who just had a good excuse, good reason that they could not vote in person. And that's back, of course, when you had to vote on Election Day. There wasn't all these 3 weeks in advance. Now there's plenty of time for folks to go in and vote in advance, 3 weeks in advance. And then, of course, you got Election Day itself. And I know that because of COVID last year, things were loosened up a little bit where people could do mail-in ballots so they didn't have to be around. But I know this created a lot of controversy. Not only do we have it in the state of Georgia, but we also, in terms of, Abrams and the Democrats saying that they did not concede because Brian Kemp won, and now this time. But it's also on the presidential side. The Democrats didn't think that Trump legally won, and now Trump didn't think that Biden legally won. So, yes, as you just mentioned, things have to be done where all us Americans, whether Republicans, Democrats, liberals, conservatives, feel comfortable that every ballot is a legal ballot and a legal vote.
Yeah, and so I think you'll see some good, and hopefully stuff that people will both agree on. I'm sure they won't. Like I said at the beginning of the show, it's really been amazing how every bill has been pretty contentious. I was trying to think some of the other. I can't believe I lost my note. I was trying to think. Some of the other things, so the two bills we're voting on this morning, even though I'm not listening, I've done my homework. I know what the bills are about. So just to give you some insight into how boring 99% of the bills that we talk about. So Steve and I Meeks and I are right now in a energy utility telecommunications subcommittee, and we're hearing in two bills. And the bill I just voted on was a bill to allow cities and counties, really it's a preemptive bill. So there are some more progressive cities and counties who are making laws locally. Let's say the city of Jessup, who's making laws that are saying you can't use certain forms of energy. Now, what's interesting is how the parties flip-flop on their general positions, because generally the Republicans believe in home rule, meaning we believe in legislation from the bottom up, from whatever government is closest to the people. Just like we want the federal governments to leave the states alone and let us do our things, we believe the cities and counties, we should let them do their stuff, just like we believe local school boards should run schools, not the state of Georgia. But when people overstep their bounds, and in this case, where some of the more progressive cities and counties are, because of the proposed Green New Deal or global warming or whatever, or we feel like you're trying to get ahead and saying, well, you can't use certain types of energy. So we have a bill that is going to be statewide and says, no, cities and counties cannot preempt or restrict a gas company from coming into the city of Jessup. That's anti-free market. And so that's the bill that I just voted on a few minutes ago. And again, that's going to be a party line vote, but it'll pass because just like the parties who have the majority, which is Republican Party right now. Not only do they have a majority in the House and the Senate, but that means every committee that is formed, such as like on industry and labor, we have 14 members, and we have 8 Republicans, 6 Democrats. So they're stacked so that the majority party gets their stuff out. So that's a battle we're having this morning. But that's kind of stuff that that will never make the headlines. You'll never see that bill written about in the AJC or anything. And we'll vote on 10 to 50 of those type bills every day.
Bill, I always want to talk about the gambling legislation, but I want to know if you saw this. This was struck with me last week. It came out that it would raise $40 million for the lottery Hope Scholarship, but they said the Hope Scholarship came back and said, no, we're good. We got $1 billion in reserve. $1 billion. Did you know that money's available?
Yeah. And you know why they do that?
They're all good. So
yeah, tell us why.
Why do they have $1 billion in reserves? We're going to spend that money.
There's a phrase that, tongue-in-cheek, it's for the children. Who can vote against the children? If you have a gambling bill that people in more conservative districts like ours who might be against, you say, but we're trying to help kids get educated. How can you be against that? And so there's your answer.
But I still can't believe they got $1 billion in reserves. I mean,
are they expecting hard times ahead when it comes to that, or are they just trying to live off the interest when it comes to that, providing scholarships for the students here in the state of Georgia? That's a big savings right there. The lottery has $1 billion. They ought to increase their odds of us winning. If they got $1 billion in reserve, I'm just kidding around there. Let's increase our odds of winning.
You know what's funny you say that, Butch? That's actually in statute too. That's actually in the law, and it was Senator Gooch from North Georgia tried to change that a couple years ago and wish I'd known you bring that up. I'd tell you a percentage, but it's actually in law what percent of people have to win in the Georgia lottery.
I was interested in talking to Blake yesterday. He said there's still probably 5 years away before all this passes, but I told him the story in Savannah Morning News was there's developers down there already looking at land and purchasing land, believing they're going to have that where they're going to build the casino. So they must think it's going to be quicker than 5 years.
Yeah, and, it's we got the same thing going on, with these medical marijuana licenses. We got about 50 people, 50 different companies trying to get 6 different licenses. And we have some people interested in Wayne, have some people interested in Tatnall, and then in Blake's district, I think he's got 6 or 7.
Interested in doing what? Putting farms here?
What's that?
Is that putting farms here?
Yeah, but I would not use the word farm because people, when you think of growing medical marijuana, that is what you think of.
It's in a building.
These are more greenhouse.
Yeah, I know it's in a building greenhouse type thing.
Facilities. Yeah. But yeah, we have somebody interested in our area. That's all I can say about that. But because, and really that's no big secret. We've almost got somebody interested in almost every county in the state. But my point is, there's only 6 licenses. And so, but we've got some of these outfits spending serious money. I know one who has bought up close to 200 acres and has already cleared land and put footers down, and they hadn't even watered the licenses down. So that, to your point, in Savannah, I don't know if they think it helps their bidding process when they go through the RFP before either the state commission or, well, in both cases, state commission, whether it's casino license or the medical marijuana growing license. If they say, hey, pick me, I've got the land, I've got a building. So, it takes a lot of guts and money to do that. That's why.
If you've got 50 different organizations, companies out there trying to get...
Y'all, hold on one second.
Okay, go ahead. State Representative Bill Werkheiser on Zoom with us from Atlanta, but he's multitasking. He's also on Zoom with a vote on the floor, and he's having to talk to his office people there and take a look at the other screen. Apparently he has 2 computer screens in front of him like we do here at the radio station. Actually, I got 3 with one up there. And so Bill's taking care of that business there when it comes to actually legislation.
So recorded thus far.
So, Bill, do we need to wrap it up? Bill's trying to take care of some business.
Representative Drenner is that correct, Representative? And then we'll please repeat him.
So we're doing a roll call vote. And
well, Bill, we'll let you...
Werkheiser being at the end. So this is one of those votes that are party lines. So they're doing a roll call vote instead of the yeas and nays.
Oh, okay.
So I'll let y'all listen in.
Yes. Representative Kelly. Representative Kelly's a yes. Representative Meeks. Representative Meeks, yes. Representative Nelson.
Yes.
Representative Nelson, yes. Representative Thomas.
How long will this take, Bill?
30 seconds. Yes.
Representative Werkheiser, yes. Representative Williamson.
We're done.
Okay. I guess that was just a committee vote there?
Yes.
Okay. What committee is that?
So that was energy, utilities, and communication. And so a lot of things in committees, you just say, all in favor say yay, and you hear a bunch of people say yay, and a few people say no. Well, this vote was so close, they were doing a roll call vote.
And what bill was this?
That was the one on what I explained about the energy, the cities and counties being able to tell certain forms of energy that they cannot come into the city.
Okay. All right.
Bill, before we let you go, we want to get the COVID story, the rollout. How do you think that's going? And a lot of people are asking, when's the next phase? I know they're still having trouble with phase 1, but, teachers are waiting for their shots. Other people are waiting for their shots. What are your thoughts on how it's going statewide, district-wide? What are you hearing?
Yeah, it's good. It's kind of mixed. The state got a bad rap, and deservedly so. I don't feel like we were very organized initially, but we're doing a lot better job. And some of that is because of the release of the vaccines. We started out as 80,000 a week, went to 120. This week we're at 154,000 doses, and that's on the supply side. Now, let's talk about the teachers because there's a lot of voices, angry voices saying, well, teachers are frontline. They're around so many different kids who go back to their houses. And so one county up in Elberton County, they decided on their own that, hey, we're going to vaccinate our teachers, and they were lauded as heroes. Well, the state said, no, you didn't follow protocol. We're going to penalize you by taking away the next 6 months of doses. And, of course, all the teachers got mad. I'm going to defend the governor on this one, and I'll tell you why. It has nothing to do with being pro or anti-teachers. Think about this. We statewide and national-wide, we said that the 1A group, and this was not a state, this was a federal regulation, that said those 65 and older and those in facilities and healthcare workers, those are the three groups that need to be vaccinated first. Well, yes, teachers are important to us, but what if another group said, well, I think radio people are important to us? And so what if every group out there started saying, well, I think this group is more important or as is important, so we're going to vaccinate them? You could see how crazy and messed up the system would be. So as tough as that sounds, to say, teachers, you need to wait in line for the second, to make sure we've got the doses available for you. I mean, that's just a hard truth, because in reality, what you're saying, if you're saying, well, no, you need to put the teachers in the first group, then it begs the obvious question, okay, so who do you not want us to vaccinate? For every teacher that we don't have a vaccine for, the other group, so are you saying you don't want us to vaccinate those in nursing homes? Do you not want us to vaccinate healthcare workers? So that's the predicament that they put the governor in when they said, no, we're going to go ahead and vaccinate teachers. So, it's a touchy subject, but that's where we are. And, if we had unlimited doses, it wouldn't be a problem, but we don't.
Well, the states just wanted to follow federal guidelines when it comes to the distribution of the vaccine.
Right.
Bill, it's a no-brainer. We all know radio people are most important, so that's why you're on the world-famous Butch and Bob Show.
Well, just put on some scrubs and go there and get.
Well, I've already had my first shot because I'm over 65. I'm following that 1A group.
I'm still waiting. I'm in line. So
yeah. Well, Bill Werkheiser calling in or zooming in from Atlanta there in his office there at the state capitol. State Representative Bill Werkheiser, thank you very much, and we'll talk to you next Wednesday. Okay.
Always enjoy it. Y'all have a good week.
All right.
Bye.
WIFO, Bob, anything else on your mind this morning?
That's it.
That's it. Okay. 831, 105.5 FM in Jessup, Big Dog Country, and the world-famous Butch and Bob Show brought to you by First Southern Bank, by Damon's Famous Fingers and Wings, and by Murphy Builder Supply.
The world famous Butch and Bob Show.